Everything stated in this video is my opinion and my opinion only, and just like everything else in these cases we discuss here on this channel, everything is alleged. Okay, you guys, I did the best that I could to put these in order, to group pictures that I feel are from the same room together. I also tried to place it from going in through the front door, seeing what's on the first floor, going up the stairs, seeing on the second floor, going up the stairs, seeing on the third floor, and then kitchen out to the balcony. I think there's like 2 photos at the very end of this that I don't know where they belong. I don't know what the frick they are. There's a room that looks like there's like an old school desk that has a bunch of like homework and papers all over the place. So it could be the unoccupied basement room where they kept a bunch of stuff. I'm not quite sure. And then there's one of a closet. And I don't know why they took this photo because there's nothing blurred out. It doesn't really show much of anything. And I'm also going to just preface this by saying this. I'm really confused about the pink blanket. Okay. I'll have the report up here on the screen. We went over these reports. In the one that was attached to the very first document, when it came to the documents that were released from Moscow Police Department, they dropped them in drops of 50, but the very first drop had an additional document at the very, very first one, and it was an inventory list, names, witnesses, people, all kinds of things. It's very, very long, and at the very bottom, there's a narrative written. In his narrative, it describes the way that Ethan's body was. It describes how there was a blanket over the midsection of Ethan's body. And then it also describes how Maddie and Kaylee were upstairs in the bed in Maddie's room, covered by a pink blanket. So then tell me why these photos make it seem as if the pink blanket is on Xana's bed. And it doesn't show any pink blanket when it comes to where Maddie and Kaylee apparently were found. And again, I could be wrong. I could be missing something. I could be looking at these incorrectly, but let's just go ahead and get started. Okay, this first one is just the front door going in. Now, this next one, I think is Bethany's room. I think it's Bethany's room because I went in and I looked at some of the 3D tours that people still had on their YouTube channels before everything got taken off the internet and the house was destroyed. And it looks like right here would be the front door. And then you turn this way and there's like a bathroom. There's also another door. And then there's the bedroom. And then the opposite direction is where the unoccupied bedroom was. So I think that this is Bethany's. I think, I'm not quite positive, but I think. Regardless, honestly, of whose bedroom this is, there's a dent in this wall. Like somebody was maybe thrown against it, fell into the wall really hard, and it put a dent in the wall. Not a hole, but a dent. That's what that looks like. Now, this is the stairs. To me, because there's switches, the keys are hanging right there. This would be, you know, the stairs leading up to the second floor. And look how dirty. Look how dirty. Grimace is what this is. And I know these were college age people and there was a party the night before and the house was apparently still dirty from the party the night before. But the stairs that lead up to the third floor are pristine. No smudges, no nothing. They're super, super clean, which I find a bit strange. So I am going to assume that this would be the stairs where there was an unknown male blood sample found on the handrail. So now we have the living room. Let's go ahead and pause. There's a bunch of cups right here on the floor. Keep that in mind because we also found out from the MPD reports regarding what Bethany had to say that she not only claimed to have heard what sounded like a firecracker and seen a very bright light underneath her door, but she also claims that above her head, she heard the ping pong table sound like a crash and what sounded like the cups falling from the table onto the floor. So keep all of that in mind while looking at these cups and also keep this black backpack in mind. The black backpacks that seem to be just kind of open and strewn about in this case are pretty interesting because this isn't the only one. The reports are claiming there was also a black backpack outside in the backyard. And even though it was seen on the 13th, there's a few days that goes by in the reports. And then there's one from Captain Lanier. And in his report, this damn black backpack that's in the backyard with footprints that lead from the slider in like a circly thingy and then back around to the front of the house in the parking area is still there days later. Not picked up, not tagged, not put in evidence, none of those things. Now, the report says and I'm going to have to go back and get the right verbiage on this, but I'm pretty positive that there was 2 very strange things when it came to tops of stairs. One of them, again, I'm trying to remember from my brain here. I'm pretty sure that it was Payne that said that there was a black backpack at the top of the stairs, but I swear it said the 3rd floor, like leading up to the 3rd floor. That could be wrong. But I know for a fact that the other thing was that one of the girls that was going from the 1st floor up to the 2nd floor claims that there was a knife at the top of the stairs, which to me means either like on the very, very top stair or on the floor that you step off the stair on. And we also need to remember that there's also a knife that Hunter Johnson had that he grabbed whenever he went inside the house, that he was then advised by the police officer, Officer Nunez, who was the first responder, to put down before he went back outside, and he placed it on the ping pong table. Keep that in mind too. Okay, so this next photo is the one that leads to Xana's room. Here we have the other portion of the half wall. That's where the stairway is. Now you see how on this ping pong table, on this side of the ping pong table, all of the cups are still upright and like in the triangle shape they're supposed to be in to play the game. That's odd to me, considering what we heard from Bethany about hearing what sounded like somebody or something coming into, falling into, crashing into the ping pong table and cups falling. And because we have cups on the other side that look to have been fallen over. In a few minutes here, whenever we leave Xana's room and come back out to go towards where Dylan's room, the one I think is of Dylan's room, we're going to see the way that the table looks on the other side. Actually, you know what? Let me just pop it over here really quick. Okay, right here. As you can see, if you go back and forth between these, this is the cups that are standing up. There's something right here on the edge of the cups. If you go to this one and look really, really close, and I will crop this really quickly and make it big so that you can see what I'm talking about, and then bring it back. Because after I'm done, with this, I'm going to upload this by itself without, commentary, just so that the pictures are up there. This is the cups. This is the knife. So I can only assume that this is the knife Hunter Johnson put on the table. So while we do have some cups knocked over, it does have a sheen on the table, like this was liquid that fell and like came down. But this bottle is upright and the rest of these are not falling over. So I don't know how lightly the table would have had to have been tapped in order for that to happen. But the way that Bethany is describing it sounded a hell of a lot louder. Like it was alarming. Also, nothing in this should be changed from how it was as this was going on, right? That's how it should be happening in these photos. So we not only have the good vibe sign, but we also have all of the lights over here on this little half table. And you can see here too, like it wasn't completely dark. Maybe down this hallway it would have been, but for whatever they're claiming Dylan might have seen or not seen, there was some light, there was some illumination. So again, the whole like it was too dark and I don't know what I'm seeing thing, I'm sorry, it just doesn't cut it for me. Okay, so trigger warning, because we're about to get to Xana's room. There's going to be substances. There's going to be red stuff. The room is in disarray. I am going to point out a couple of things, but I'm going to put this here again because I said it earlier and I'm going to say it now. The report says that Kaylee and Maddie were covered up with a blanket. That was pink. The pink blanket is on Xana's bed. Okay. And before we get to that, I'm just going to prove to you where I'm getting this from very, very quickly. If we go straight to the photos that are supposed to be coming from Maddie's room, we can see that it's Maddie's room because her clothes are on the floor. These are her boots that she had on. These are her boots, okay? The bed is in the position that we were described that it was. The door is opening in the position that we were described when it comes to Maddie's room, okay? And keep in mind again, this claimed there was a pink blanket covering them up. See how the door opens up this way? So there would be a half wall behind where that door is. Now this one's the blurry one because I wanted to get you guys ready. I'm about to bring it over to the next one that is not as blurry. And I'm going to point out some things. So here we go. There is spatter here. There is spatter here. There is spatter here. There is spatter here. There is spatter all over this table. And if we go back to the blurry photo, you can see that there is dark spatter or pooled, maybe red stuff down here on the floor. So if we go back to the way that Gunderson in the exact same report describes Ethan, this would have been the side of the bed and the wall that they were talking about, not in between the bed and the wall, like on this side, the way that my brain was putting it, but it would have been more like his legs were coming off of this side of the bed and he was off on this side, because look at all of that red stuff. Ethan was cut here. Okay, right under the clavicle is how they're explaining it, is like one of the biggest wounds, or like the actual wound, the life-taking wound would have been right here and on this side. So if he is laying on that bed, this side of his body would have been what was leaning that way. And that's where the majority of the red stuff is when it comes to this bed. So if this is really Xana's room, and if this is really Xana's bed, why is the pink blanket on this bed? Because nothing that they're showing us when it comes to Maddie's room, because there's not a lot. They decided not to give us hardly anything when it came to Maddie's room. The floorboard, the drops, and something on the door is as far as they're going to let us see. Because as you can see, there's a blue blanket right here. Blue blanket. Because as you can see, there's no legs hanging off of the bed here. So I don't know what they're blurring out so much right here. But that blue blanket, in my mind, would have been the one that Gunderson is describing being over the midsection of Ethan. So then where did this freaking pink blanket come from? So hopefully, whenever the rest of the photos release and we get to see everything, because there's apparently over 200 of these, according to the media, we should see a pink blanket in Maddie's room on the bed. That's what we should be seeing. So I don't know why we're seeing it here. And again, I could be doing all this rambling and I could be completely wrong. But the way that the wall is right there, the way that the door is opening when it comes to the room that Maddie's boots and stuff are in, this has got to be Xana's room. This has to be Xana's room. So let's just go backwards. This right here would be the opening of Xana's room. See how the door goes this way? This is spatter. This is dripping. This is spatter. This photo is extremely interesting because not only are we seeing the substances that they spoke about, but I think we're seeing the food bag. If you look down here at the bottom, and I will do this again, like this, not only do we have spatter on the wall up here, huge blurred section right here. I don't know what reason. I don't know what's back here. It's hard to tell. But also, there's a bunch of red right here on the Coors Light box. You see this right here? On top of that, look at this bag. Let me check and make sure that this is recording correctly to where you guys can see this through my head. Okay, good. This bag looks like Jack in the Box. Both Jack in the Crack and Taco Bell have purple in their logos. So let's keep that in mind. But also on this bag is a bunch of red. There's a bunch of red all over the bag. Can I make this bigger? Yeah. So we've got a little bit of smudging, looks like here on this tag of this black clothing item. Then we have right here on the Coors box and then on the bag. Now, again, if we go back from what the report said, right here is that $2 bill that's been rolled up. This is most likely the blue powdery stuff they were talking about, but it might not be because it doesn't look blue to me. I don't know. It's a black line that looks really similar to the ID black line right here. I don't know what this purple container right here could possibly be, but the ID being out, them saying that there was a powdery substance, a rolled up dollar bill. I've seen enough movies. Okay, because I've never wanted to dabble. I've never been around anybody who's ever done this in front of me. So I just know what I've seen on the TV. Okay, and I know that they take cards and they do things and they make lines and then they, okay, I've seen it enough on the TV to know that's what this setup looks like. Now, all I did on this other one was sort of just like make it a little bit bigger. But I mean, yeah, again, this is a driver's license and the $2 bill in that. Now, this is the blurred photo that I just showed you. We've already gone over it. Again, that pink blanket just really confuses me. Okay, so now we're going to come out, and this is the photo. I did it that way so that it looks like it kind of like went full circle. Now we'll be going into the little hallway area where the stairs lead up to the 3rd floor. Now, I think that this is Dylan's room, and I say that because the next photo shows the stair leading up to the 3rd floor, right? And see how clean it is? Let's just also stop right there. See how clean this is? Let's go back to the first one. Look at the difference. Look at the difference, okay? Not just that, but if we look right here, this looks like Oh, go back. Okay. This looks like a rug, right? It almost looks like black and white, maybe houndstooth. So then if we go here and we make this one a bit bigger and move it up, it also has a very similar pattern right here. It just looks smaller because it's farther away from the camera and, you know, not as close to the door. So that's why I'm assuming that these two bedrooms are the same and that it has to be Dylan's. So let's go upstairs now. This is where we're going to get into what is supposed to be, I think, Kaylee's room. Now I'm saying I think because, again, I'm not really quite sure. What we have here is something underneath Kaylee's desk. If this is Kaylee's room, this is underneath her desk. As a matter of fact, I think this is a K right here. Now remember, Maddie had the M in her window. This looks like the K. So I'm just going to go ahead and say this is Kaylee's room. Now, I don't know if this is Murphy down here or not. In the report, one of the very last of like the last 14 in the last drop when it came to the MPD records, they're discussing how they're taking photos of Kaylee's room and that how Murphy's just like in the room. And at some point it says he's underneath Kaylee's desk. Now he's a golden doodle. This looks not really like a golden doodle. This looks more like a gray color, but I guess depending on shade, it could be him. This could be him lying under or not. It's hard to tell. It almost looks like right here could be his little nose. And then like his eyes would be around here, like sort of like blocked a little bit from the legs of the chair. And then his body could be going that way. That's very possible. But again, we don't have the timestamps for these photos. I'm not sure which round this is for Murphy to have still been there. I'm going to assume that it had to have been prior to them taking the bodies out of the home before they obviously took Murphy out of the house. But whose photo is this? Was this taken on Officer Nunez's cell phone? Is this some sort of like still shot from something? Where'd this photo come from? That's another question that I have with these, because I know that we do have like a log where there's a guy that went in and took a bunch of photos. And I think he said he wrapped up around like 5:30. So I guess I would need to go back and compare the timestamps, the entrances and the exit timestamps to see when Murphy was actually taken out of the house versus when this guy that was taking photos finished up. But it looks like it could be Murphy. I don't know for positive, but it looks like it could be. Okay, so I went to Twitter real quick, and an account posted the photo, and I guess they did some sort of lightening of the shading of underneath the desk. This is definitely Murphy. This is Murphy laying down underneath the desk, underneath the chair, scared. Dogs do not normally sleep like this, lay in places like this where they are completely under things like this unless they are scared. I'm so glad that I saw this because it definitely proves that this is Murphy under this desk. Okay, we're going to get to Maddie's room now. And again, there's not a lot that they're showing us. I don't see anything pink on that bed. I see a beige comforter and I see a white blanket. I see something else that looks beige across the way in the chair. I don't see anything pink. Now, again, this has to be Maddie's room because the door, the way the bed is positioned, and also her boots. These are the boots that she had on at the grub truck. So I'm going to assume that these are also her pants that she had on at the grub truck. So if you let this go a little bit more, we're going to see that there is spatter on the door. Now, this goes up a little bit this way. I thought I had a circle thingy on here. Oh, it got flipped. One second. Let me fix this. It has a pattern of spatter here where it's sort of higher up here, down here. And then there's another dot right up here that matches this one and this one. And as you can see at the bottom, there's Maddie's shoes. Now, it shows another portion of the floorboard, and I circled what I could see. 1, 2, 3, 4. And again, there's Maddie's shoes. Now, I'm assuming that this is the bathroom on the 3rd floor because we know that there was a bathroom off to the left when it comes to by Xana's room. But if you look down that hallway, it's bathroom door that opens this way, and then Xana's door opens like this. And so there's no wall right there for there to be a mirror. And this one has a mirror in it. So I'm assuming this is the 3rd floor bathroom. I could be wrong. It could be something maybe on the 1st floor, but it doesn't look to be from the 2nd floor at all. Now, this guy's taking pictures maybe, or is that the golf bag possibly? I'm not really quite sure what this guy is doing. He's got something up here, something down here, and then this is like somebody else's leg maybe. I don't know, but this is one of the bathrooms. I don't know where exactly this photo was taken from, so I put it here because that makes the most sense to me. But as you can see, there's a lot of spatter here. There's spatter here. There's spatter here. There's spatter here. It looks like a freaking mop. It could be something else, maybe another like art piece of something. I'll go back through the photos and see if I can see anything that has like fringe or something, rope fringe hanging off of it. Now, as I was trying to find something about this photo, I came across one of Willie's thumbnails, and he has what looks to be a bigger version that shows like a bigger view of the photo on his thumbnail. And if you look at the bottom corner, this matches Maddie's bed. So probably not a mop, not a utility room. This looks to be the light switch and the wall that Maddie's bed was up against. So this would be the side where Kaylee was. Okay, so now we're getting to the kitchen. The kitchen has the door open, and I'm going to assume that the way that they have it, the space in which they have it, I'm going to assume that the back slider door being ajar looked like that whenever Officer Nunez first saw it. It's just an assumption, and until we get Officer Nunez's body cam, then we really just don't know for sure. Now, here is that crusty, dusty coffee cup. And here is that Jack in the Box bag. You can see the sticker right here. It looks exactly the way that it did, greasy and just nasty whenever it came to the photos that came out from mainstream, taking photos from outside the house as much as they possibly could through the windows. Now, eventually, those two things end up together next to a plant that looks like it's been knocked over. And then in another section of photos, all of this ends up on a table at some point. So all of this ends up being moved around. Now, here is the back slider, and here seems to be the footprints. They said there was like 14-inch long shoe prints that led out here. Something about going around the stump and then coming back this way is, if again, off memory from the report. And again, they also claimed that there was a black backpack back here somewhere that they just left there for a couple of days. So I don't know if they ever picked it up. I don't know what they did. It's all a mystery. Now, this is the table that everything ends up on, but these are the handprints. These are the handprints that they mentioned in the reports. I find this really interesting because it's like two hands, and I think they said something about like a face as well, like up against the glass. I feel like that was something that was in the report. That part could be wrong, but I swear my brain is saying and the face. So I can't really see that here. There might be something in the shadowy parts that we just can't see, but those are full-on handprints. Full-on handprints. And the way that they're described in the report is that they were rather small. So that's interesting too. Now, here we are getting to a drop of blood that I don't know where this is, okay? It's not Xana's door, because Xana's door opens this way. This door, as long as this photo hasn't been flipped, would open this way, like Maddie's. But if we go back and we look at the spots on Maddie's door, the one right here is underneath, like the rectangle indent design, and these are over here on this side. This is completely different. This is on the edge of this, right? They're not showing anything else when it comes to Maddie's room that would show me that this is from Maddie's door. It could be. It very well could be. Now, I don't know if this is up on the higher portion of Maddie's door or not. I haven't been able to find anything that goes up like tall enough to be able to see that. So I don't know. But if it's not Xana's door and it's in a different spot than the spots that we're seeing on Maddie's door, then whose door is this? Whenever there was supposed to only be 2 rooms that had anything like this associated with them. So answers to this would be great, you know. Now, this is the other one that I mentioned where I don't know where this goes. I don't know if this is like the spare bedroom at the bottom that was empty and it just had like all this stuff in it. I don't know. This looks to be maybe a vape battery. This looks to be some sort of aerosol spray, either maybe paint or, I mean, honestly, it could be dry hairspray. Very possible. I don't know. But then there's stuff just sort of everywhere, like just thrown about all over the floor. I don't know what room this is. And I also don't know whose closet this is. And I don't know why they're showing this photo. I don't know why they took this photo. Now, there's like a trash bag at the bottom, but there's no context here. I know there's a pink jacket hanging in the closet here, and a pink and green jacket, I think, was mentioned quite a few times in the Moscow Police Department reports that came out. But as for why this photo was taken, I have no idea. Now, before I end this, I wanted to touch back on this photo. Now, again, this should be from Maddie's room. This should be her light switch. This should be the side of the bed and the wall where Kaylee was. Now, think back to everything that we've been told about Kaylee's injuries, okay? We've had Steve Goncalves come out and tell us that he was told that all of her injuries to her cranial area, her skull, her head, would have taken her life on their own without everything that ended up happening with the knife. Then we see the reports, and we have Officer Nunes saying that whenever he first basically looks at Kaylee, that her facial structure is so destroyed, so damaged, that it's hard to see what he's looking at, hard to understand what he's looking at. Now look at the spot on the pillow. That doesn't look like it should be that small with everything that we've heard. That's all I wanted to point out. Please do not forget to leave a like on your way out and subscribe to the channel if you are not subscribed already.